Gas prices have gotten pretty insane over the past year.
This morning, gas prices soaring to the highest average ever recorded, $4.17.
Pennies away from $5 a gallon.
A new record high, $5.15.
An all-time high,
$5.69.
well over $5 and $6.29. That's
$6.37 a gallon.
Too damn high. It's ridiculous.
It is cheaper to drive a vehicle without having to go to the gas station.
We went by every single gas station and it didn't matter how high it was.
Apparently, I'm a good example of doing it right.
Didn't matter how high it was.
And interestingly, I've had this Chevy Bolt for about 1 year exactly. So how much have I actually saved over that year due to driving electric? Let's see here. If you watch this channel for a while, you'll know that I used to own a 2002 Subaru WRX. And last summer, I did a little pull up to, I was going fast. And I drove home on 3 cylinders after that. I made it home, but the thing was pretty much shot. And I decided to park it at 312,000 miles because there was a big hole in one of the exhaust valves. What if I continued and put a new engine in the WRX and continued to operate that for the past year? What would have been the cost? And this will serve as a good baseline against the Bolt. I will consider the case where I actually buy a new vehicle to replace the WRX and compare that against the Bolt as well. Since my dad and I swapped out the engine and all of the parts ourselves, I think it would have cost about $2,000 to get the WRX running again. So we'll add that to our repair bill. And also, I put in what I expect for other repairs for the year. And fortunately, I have records back to 2012 when I bought the car, and I found that on average, when I adjust for inflation, it would cost me about $964 a year to continue operating the WRX. On the insurance side, I didn't carry comprehensive car insurance on that old vehicle, so my annual premium was only $317. And so if we add up all of those values, we get what I call the operating and maintenance costs. It's not a perfect term, but we'll use it. And the total for all of that is $3,281. But what about fuel? Because that's what really everybody focuses on. Well, I drove 24,443 miles between August 2nd of 2021 and August 2nd of 2022. And the WRX would average about 27 miles per gallon. So that gives me 905 gallons of fuel for the year. And that's premium gas, not regular. Now, the price did vary a lot throughout the year. So what I did is I took the average premium gas prices for each month and multiplied that by 1/12 of the total miles I drove. I just kind of evenly divided it across the year. What this results in is $4,002 of gas for the year, which is quite a bit. I also added $10 a month just to compensate for the WRX's oil burn of about 1 quart per 1,000 miles. I paid cash for the car in 2012, so there's no existing financing or interest costs. And at 312,000 miles, I think we can safely assume that depreciation is 0 or close to it. So when we add up all the operating and maintenance, the fuel, the oil costs, the WRX would have cost me $7,402 to operate between August 2nd of 2021 and August 2nd of 2022. Before we get into the expenses for the Bolt for the year, I have a small favor to ask you guys. I have a new project I'm working on and I have a small survey related to that. You can find it down in the description or up here. Actually, the description might be over there. But either way, this survey is less than 5 minutes. You have a chance to win some prizes, and I'm looking for EV drivers and non-EV drivers to complete it. So, thanks. So what have I spent driving the 2020 Chevy Bolt EV between August 2021 and August 2022? Well, in the O&M department, I have 0 maintenance or repair expenses. And that's pretty nuts because over 24,000 miles, you'd expect to change oil about 5 times. I did have some operating expenses though, and some of those are just due to buying a new car, but I wanted to include them for completeness. We live where it snows quite a bit, so a good set of winter tires is essential, and it's best to have a set of wheels so they're easy to swap. And that cost me $1,357 for winter wheels and tires. I also put a hitch on the car just to transport bikes, and that was another $386. And I bought a WeatherTech hatch liner, and that was $135. I also got a better insurance plan because this is a much more expensive car. So it's a comprehensive insurance plan, $805 a year. So the total O&M costs are $2,683. And now what you've all come here for, it's how much did I spend on electricity for the year? Well, I averaged 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour across 24,443 miles. And that gives you 6,432 kilowatt hours used by the car for the year, but charging is not completely efficient, and a typical inefficiency in charging is about 15%. So that gives us 7,567 kilowatt hours used at home or at DC fast charging. And speaking of DC fast charging, about 392 of the kilowatt hours were at Electrify America stations, and that cost me $118. I have a video on a long road trip I did for the year up here, and you should go check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. I divided the remaining 7,175 kilowatt hours across the 12 months and then multiplied by the per kilowatt hour pricing that I paid in each month. And in total, we have $885 added to my home electric bill. So the total electric cost for the year, $1,003, or just about 1/4 what I spent on gas for the WRX. Now, I bought the Bolt used, but it was basically new with 1,600 miles. And so it cost me $26,633, including all the fees and taxes and everything. And I financed about $16,000 of that at 2.5% interest across 3 years. Now, these are really favorable terms, so I only pay $339 in interest for the entire year. If we look at this from a cash flow perspective, the down payment of $10,633 is also an outflow for the year, but a better way perhaps to look at this is look at the depreciation for the year, or what could I get for the car if I sold it today? According to Kelley Blue Book, the private party sale value for a 2020 Bolt with 26,030 miles is $28,504, and the trade-in value is $26,857. I decided I would use the trade-in value since that's less than the private party value, and that will make this a little bit more conservative. So in other words, even using the trade-in value, I could sell the Bolt today for $224 more than what I paid for it. And yeah, the 2021-2022 used car market is just nuts, and I don't expect this to be the case for the next year. So we have O&M costs of $2,683, electricity costs of $1,003, interest of $339, and our positive depreciation of $224. So I get a yearly operating cost for the Bolt of $3,801, or about $3,600 less than the WRX. Now, obviously this scenario required me to have quite a bit of cash to put down on the purchase price of the car versus continuing to run an old paid for vehicle. And I haven't always been in a situation where I could do that, and I expect that there's a lot of people who can't. And I just wanted to address that because a lot of people will say just buy an EV without mentioning the fact that it's very difficult for a lot of people to get into. But this is just my experience, so take from it what you will. Your results definitely are going to vary. That being said, what if instead of driving my old dying car with over 300,000 miles on it, I'd purchase a small, relatively inexpensive ICE car, something like a 2021 Honda Civic. Starting with operating and maintenance costs, I would have purchased wheels and tires again because it's a new car, and probably the hitch as well. And I would also have oil changes. So I assume about $50 per oil change, and there's 5 of those. So that's another $250. I'm also going to include a comprehensive insurance plan like I did for the Bolt, so another $805. And in total, my estimated O&M costs for the Civic are $2,452. The fuel efficiency of the Civic is better than the WRX at 33 miles per gallon, and more importantly, we can run regular fuel instead of premium. If we divide the fuel use evenly across the months of the year and multiply by the monthly fuel costs, we get annual fuel costs of $2,897. On the financing side, the Civic would have cost me $23,094 after tax and fees, and assuming the same down payment as the Bolt, I would have paid $264 in financing or interest costs for the year. Kelley Blue Book gives me a trade-in value of $23,188 or $94 of anti-depreciation. Adding up the $2,452 of O&M, the $2,897 in fuel, the $264 of interest, and anti-depreciation of $94, we get a yearly operating expense of $5,255 for the Civic, or about $1,454 more than my Bolt. Interestingly, if you look at the total cash outlay for the year for the Bolt versus the Civic, the Bolt comes out $500 ahead of the Civic, which is kind of interesting. But obviously that involves a lot of outlay of cash, and that's not something that a lot of people can do. So obviously your results will vary. I'd love to hear your experience if you have an EV, so comment away down below, and I'd love to read those and connect over those. And I will see you guys in the next video.